Hey everyone, it's Dr. Detroit here, the doctor is in, and welcome to something a little bit different. We've been doing a lot of convoys, and also we have our full season playthrough done and dusted, another one coming soon, but I'm going to introduce a series that's going to come in during the times when we are not convoying or anything like that. It also kind of helps fill the gaps that sometimes happen. So, welcome everybody to One Day Restorations. That's right. So, for this series, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be using both Car Mechanic Sim 2018, which we're in right now, and Car Mechanic Sim 2021 to rescue, repair, restore, and bring a bunch of cars back to their original quality, and in some cases, we might soup some of them up to turn them into actual race cars, or just to have a little fun in our collection. And as you can see, we have a couple of these cars already, which these are going to be ones that will be seen in future episodes. So we're going to alternate a little bit during this series. So this first episode is here in Car Mechanic Sim 2018, and then the other will be in Car Mechanic Sim 2021. So you'll see a difference between the two garages, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, let me just show you some of the car projects that we have coming up. One of the things we have is this beautiful Woody. It's a Ford Woody. It's a 1946 Ford Woody Super Deluxe. This will be a lot of fun to play with. Over here, we have a car that I got from the junkyard. This just looks like a regular rolling chassis. But when we get to this, we're going to be rebuilding a 1967 Chevrolet Impala at some point. And way back here, I got this from a junkyard. This is a 1989 Chevrolet Lumina stock car. That's right. We can make our own race car out of this. And as you can see, it looks pretty grungy and everything. So we're not gonna work on this car just yet, but take a look at this. Yeah, this thing's going to need a full restoration, that's for damn sure. But for this first episode, I think we start off a little simple here. We're going to work on this, which is a Chevrolet Astro. Now, some of you probably weren't around to actually see one of these on the street, but this is the first gen of Chevy Astro vans that were produced from 1985 to 1994. After that, they went to a completely different style, and they started to become more like the vans that you see now on the streets. And you can see this thing is really gunged up, because I got this from a junkyard, but I want you all to take a look at something interesting. Take a look at the interior here. Look at how beautiful that is. So it looks like we don't have to worry too much about the interior, but we're going to do a full rebuild of this car, which also includes a new engine. In fact, this car takes a V6 dual overhead cam CHG engine, which most likely we're going to have to rebuild. And you can see that the car doesn't really, I mean, it's an old van. It's got about 113,401 miles on it. So we're going to see if we can't get this car to look the way it was. So that's what we're going to do for this first episode of One Day Restorations, and that's to work on the Chevy Astro. Alright, first things first, let me see, where is my TIG welder? No, that's the battery charger. Oh, here it is. So we're going to take my welder over, and we're going to take it over here to the second car lift. Now, this is going to help us determine how much cosmetic stuff we have to do with the car. Because you can see everything is rusted out, but once we take the welder to it, this will tell us exactly what we have to do with the body and stuff. So let's go ahead and use it if I can get right here. So let's use it and see what happens. Okay, as you can see, oh. So this used to be a van that had candy on the side of it. So as you can see, The side here is fine, and so is the top, but the rest of this stuff is pretty much used up. Alright then, so now we're going to have to do some stripping. And what I mean by that is that we're going to strip the parts off of here. I highly doubt we're going to be able to save any of this stuff. But first things first, why don't we go ahead and work on the body. Now, normally you would leave the body for last, but let's go ahead and take care of the body first. And then we can start going into the insides of this vehicle. Okay, so we have now stripped down the car of its other parts and other things that are part of the body. But now it's time to put this up on the rack, and let's get this engine out of here next. Let's go ahead and move the TIG welder out of the way. Alright, let's go ahead and raise it. Now this will give you a really good look at this, because look at this. Everything is all rusted out. It's all very gnarly and everything. Let's take the exhaust off. So yeah, this car is going to need quite a bit of stuff. So first thing we got to do is we got to take the drive shaft off, and it's held in by these 4 bolts over here, and there's also 4 bolts over here. And once we get that out, then we can get the gearbox out, and then we can get the engine out, and see if maybe we can rebuild it. Alright, now let's drop the car. So now the engine is actually more accessible to us now. Now, here's the car battery. I'm going to take that out really quick. 32%. You know what? I actually think that this battery might still be salvageable. So let's go ahead and put on my battery charger for right now, and we'll see if that's what it needs. All right, now we'll take the engine crane and we will move it over to our car. Wrong one. It's over here at the Ford. Should be moved over here to lift B. Okay, engine is out of the car. Now let's take it over here and install the engine. Alright, so you can see here that it's very gnarly. In fact, I actually think it's probably missing a few things, as well as also, I never actually have worked on an engine like this before. I've worked on V8s and other things, but this one's an interesting one. Because this one, if I remember correctly, this is a V6, right? Mm-hmm. It certainly is. So, that means we're going to have to rebuild this entire engine. And with that, we're going to have to pretty much strip it down and see if we can't fix the engine block. But I think we might do. There might be some parts here that are going to be salvageable. Let me see. Let me take a closer look. Alright, clutch plate is gone. Flywheel is gone. Doesn't have the release bearing. Let's take this off first. Yeah, there's not even any spark plugs. I don't think there's even any spark plugs in this. So, alright, you know what we're going to do is that we're going to take this engine apart, and then we're going to rebuild it from the ground up using other sorts of pieces. So, let's go ahead and speed up the camera a little bit. Alright, so that took a while to strip the engine down, but you guys saw it in just a few seconds. So now what I'm going to do is that we're going to take the engine block and some of the pieces that I have, and I'm going to take them over to my table over there and see if we can't rebuild a few of them. And so once again, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up a little bit because I want to get to the engine building and show you guys how to rebuild an engine like this. Alright, so I have some good news. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but we could actually fix some of the parts and some of the pieces that go on the van. So we're going to install those next, and then we'll get to the engine. So let's go ahead and put these back on. Okay, I probably don't even have those. I'll have to probably get them in a different spot. And this can go right here. There we go. Didn't realize this one didn't have a logo on it. That's okay. Oops, don't want to put that back on there. There we go. So, I don't have all the pieces back yet, but we'll get those in a little bit. Right now, let's go back to our engine. Alright, so now we're going to start rebuilding, and here's the fun part, too. I was able to rebuild a couple of different pieces of the engine, so we don't have to spend too much money, or for that matter, have to track down too many pieces. However, some things I decided to skip over, mainly because we can get some new ones. So let's go ahead and begin. So the engine always begins with an engine block, as we have right here. And then what goes in here is the crankshaft. And the crankshaft is actually what holds the pistons in place. And now, the old one is unfortunately deceased, so we're going to go over here and get ourselves a crankshaft. And I think, let's see, I think it's a, let me see, crankshaft V6 is what we're looking for. I think it's a V6B. There it is. So now let's get that in. Now the rest of these pistons, I'm going to have to buy a little bit more stuff here because we're going to need to put this whole thing together. So we're going to do a little shopping. We're going to do a little shopping and let's see what we could find. We're going to go here to the tuning shop really quick because this is where we're going to get a couple of things. So let's see, we're going to get something for the clutch. So we're going to get a clutch plate and a clutch pressure plate for sure. We also could use some pistons as well. We'll need about 8 of these. Or actually, we'll need about that many. We'll have to get the rings from a different area. The camshafts are also here too. So we're going to need a couple of camshafts as well. It's a V6B we're looking for right here. There we go. Perfect. Alright, now let's get out of there and we're going to go back here to the main shop. And this time I'm just going to put in V6B so we can get all the parts here. Because we need a couple of these. So let's see. We also need Well, I do know that we need this. And I do know that we're going to need a couple of cam gears for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and get me a few. Also get me an arm for that. Engine head, we'll have to see if that's something that we need to worry about, because I know I was able to fix one of the engine heads. But, oh, we need to get the rings. We need to get the ring for the pistons. I'm going to get a bunch of these just so I have them on hand. There we go. Alright, now let's go back over here and let's go ahead and install... Oh, we need the flywheel. Almost forgot about that. So let's grab a flywheel really quick. There we go. Alright, now let's go ahead and put the flywheel and the clutch in first, so that way we have those situated. Okay, I have a couple of racing ones that we can use. And then we need the pressure plate, which will give us a little extra boost. And I don't know if I have another release bearing. I don't. I keep forgetting that this is not the other game, because I have a bunch of parts and pieces over there. I don't really have too many parts and pieces over here that I can just, you know, throw on here too many times. There we go. Alright, now let's come back over here to the engine and start putting in the pistons. Yep, we got to put these in. And then we got to put the rod caps in. The rod cap is what holds the piston in place on the crankshaft. Without this, everything will just go all over the place. And then we do the same thing for the rest. There we go. Also, we need a crankshaft bearing cap. We need a couple of these. The bearing cap is actually another thing that holds the crankshaft in place, so that way it doesn't go all over the place when you're driving. So let's get another rod cap here, and we might need to get a few more of these. Let's see, we need about 2 bearing caps. So let's take care of that really quick. Let's go ahead and buy me a couple just have on hand. There we go. And while we're at it, we might as well go back in here and get a rod cap or 2. So that way we're not struggling. There we go. Alright, let's continue to put the rest of these guys in. You know, there's something therapeutic about working on engines like this. I don't know. You always you know, do this and wonder, you know, is everything gonna work? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar it's gonna work. There we go. And then very soon here, we should be able to put the oil pan on here. But first, let's get this extra guy in. There we go. So now we're pretty much done with the bottom side of this. Of this engine. We also need an oil filter too. So let's grab that. There we go. Alright, so now we can actually go up here and we can actually work on the actual motor and start putting stuff back in. Alright, so we can go ahead and put the water pump back in because I was able to fix that. Idle roller, thank God I have some extras around here. So the front end of this, the idle rollers, these are the rollers that actually work with the serpentine belts that we got to put in. And there's also something called a timing belt too that we'll be putting in here as well. Let's get that arm in there. Also need another idle roller here. Now the crankshaft pulley. This one needs a V8, but I don't even have that. Alright, back to here we go. Let's go ahead and get a pulley for a V8, which I find that weird. It's this one, I believe, right? Oh yes, got it. There we go. Now we're going to need an alternator. I'm going to go ahead and put a racing alternator on here. The alternator is a very important part of the car because it actually helps recharge the battery after you've used it, but also during the time that the car is actually on. We also fixed up the power steering pump too. Alright, now we're going to need to put the engine heads back on, which luckily we fixed those. Has about 8 screws to them. There we go. And now we get to put some spark plugs in there, which luckily I have some. And because we're putting in like the more high performance stuff, this van, once we put it on the dyno, is going to put out a little bit more horsepower than what we're normally going to see. Now, as you can see, I only have 3 good ignition coils, and 2 of them are racing. So because we put in spark plugs, since we're putting in spark plugs that are, you know, tuned up and stuff, we're going to need to put in some ignition coils like this, not that, these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a few of these just to have on hand, and then we're going to put those on because this is what's going to help to transfer the power over. And plus, they kind of look cool too. I mean, look at this. Whenever you see something red in this game, usually it means that it's going to be high performance. Now the crankshaft here, we did go for a high performance one, but it's really only going to give us about a 1% boost. So when we put 4 of these in sequence, then we're going to have a total of a 4% boost on this. Let's go ahead and get the camshaft bearing covers back on. But unfortunately, these I weren't able to save, so we're going to need to grab the crankshaft bearings. So let's do this really quickly. Oh yeah, we're in the wrong area. Let's go over here. And now, let's see, we need bearing V6. There we go. That's what we're looking for. In fact, we might actually need a few more of these, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a few more, because it's always good to have a few extras on hand, just in case we come across another engine that looks like this. There we go. Get the next crankshaft bearing in, or camshaft bearing, I believe these are called. Now we need the engine head covers, which luckily I was able to save these. Okay, engine head cover. There we go. Okay, next up is the exhaust manifolds, which this is actually what takes the exhaust and takes it to the exhaust pipes, which we're going to have to get new ones once we get to that. Okay, so now we have those in place. Now we'll do the same exact thing over here to engine head A. Okay, so now we're going to put in the intake manifold. That was able to be saved as well. We're taking care of everything at the top of the engine first before we go to the front. And then we have the other intake manifold. There we go. Now we need the throttle body, which is this. There we go. And now we need to put in the fuel rails, which I was able to save one of them, but the other one, unfortunately, was too screwed up. So we'll have to grab another fuel rail. Which luckily, there's one right here. We're not putting racing fuel rails in this, just because, probably don't even need them. Okay, now we can work on the front of the engine, because now we need to put the cam gears on, and luckily I bought some of those. Let's get another idle roller on top of here, and that's my last one. Jesus. Okay, now we're going to need a serpentine belt. We're going to need serpentine belt B. So let's go ahead and grab that really quick. And let's go ahead and grab both of these just in case we need both. And there goes the belt. Now we need a belt tensioner, which we need to grab really quick. Now, a belt tensioner is actually what keeps the belts nice and tight against the idle rollers, and also it prevents them from getting all tangled. Because if these belts break, then your engine is going to pretty much blow up. So we don't want that to happen. All right, now we can put the timing covers and stuff back on, because now we're actually more than halfway through the build, and I'm gonna need some more idle rollers. This is the one thing that'll always kill you, is getting more idle rollers. In fact, it's kind of hard to actually keep a few of these on hand sometimes, because sometimes most engines will take a lot of them. There we go. And remember that belt that we got earlier? There it is. And we need an idle roller B, which luckily I still have some of those. And now let's go ahead and start putting the timing cover back on. And there we go. The engine is now been rebuilt. Oops, hold on. Two more things back here. We need the fuel filter. We need a new fuel filter. In fact, practically everything is going to have to be new, so I'm going to have to get a new fuel pump too, and probably a new fuel filter. There we go. And then we need the thermostat, which, again, I was able to resurrect that. And put the fuel filter on. Now this engine is ready to go back in. But we're not quite ready yet to put it back here in this car. So we're going to put it back up because there's a few more things we got to do next. Before any engine comes back in here, we have to go underneath and we have to redo the entire suspension. So what we have to do is we have to get the wheels off. But one other thing too that we can do is that we can get the wheels off and see what kind of tire and basically the size of the wheel itself. So that way when we go to put new tires on, we know exactly what we're dealing with. Alright, so let's take a look in our inventory here. And it looks like the wheel is a 195, 75, 15. Alright, so we're going to have to keep that in mind when we get the rest of the wheels off. So let me get the rest of the wheels off, and then we'll start disassembling the suspension and start rebuilding it. Alright, as you can see here, this is very common in these older vehicles. So if you take a look here at the front brakes are brake discs, which are, common amongst a lot of vehicles. And then back here are brake drums. The drum brakes are going to be easier to take care of for the most part. And then let me also get rid of the fuel tank here. Alright, so now to continue to disassemble the suspension on this vehicle, And then we're going to see if we can resurrect a few parts, and then we're going to start rebuilding the car again. So I guess this is where we're going to speed things up a little bit more. Alright, I should say that was very interesting. And we got all the suspension pieces out of the car. And I gotta tell you, it's kind of interesting to see, because I don't know if you guys saw it, but everything was pretty much rusted out. But we can actually possibly save the brake shoes that were in the back of this thing. Because in many older cars, especially like that Impala over there, and especially on this one, let me show you. You can actually see that some of these are actually drum brakes than anything else. But they went to disc brakes later on because they actually stopped a little bit better. But the combination of the front being disc and the rear being drums was actually not too bad. So, alright. So now that we have that, let me go to my saw or go to my workbench. I will see if I can fix up any of these parts, and I'll be back with you guys just like now. All right, so we're back here with the Astro, and I have the new suspension pieces and everything that we can put back in this vehicle. Why don't we start with the front first, and then we can work our way to the back. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is that we need to put the front suspension crossmember back in. This one I was able to salvage, and now it needs these little rubber bushings that need to be placed in the slots here. This also helps it keep in place too, which luckily I do have a bunch of these that we can put in. In fact, I think this thing actually takes 4 of them, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Okay. Let's go over here and get that extra rubber bushing in. There we go. And now we come over here to this one. There we go. Next we also need the front sway bar, which I need to get a new one. I thought I fixed that one, but I didn't. Oh, and while you guys weren't looking, I bought some new rims. So we'll have some new rims for the actual tire, because we're going to put some new tires on this car. Because, you know, it needs them. So get a new front sway bar here. So we can put that in. We also will put the new steering rack in. And now from this point on, we can actually start to rebuild and put the front suspension in. So let's continue and start with this left side first. Gonna need a new inner tie rod. So let's grab that really quick. In fact, I'm actually gonna need 2 of these at least. I'll go ahead and get a third one just so I have an extra one on hand. There we go. So that's in now. Now we need a front steering knuckle. And now we can start to put everything in. What's even better too is that I actually have some leftover shocks from another car that I was working on that I can put on here. At least I think. There we go. There we go. Now they're in. Next we need the lower suspension arm. And I need some more rubber bushings because it seems that every single build takes a lot of rubber bushings. So I'm gonna have to probably put a few of these. In fact, I'm gonna get some small ones to have on hand, as well as also get some big ones as well. There we go. This way I don't run out of them. So now let's continue and put these in. There we go. Okay, now we can continue to rebuild the front end suspension. Now we've come to the brakes, and one of the things that we're going to be doing with this is that we're going to give this some much better stopping power. So we're going to go back in here, and I'm actually going to go into the tuning shop and get us some new brake discs, so we can make this van be able to stop on a dime. And I don't see any. Oh, this is the power boost thing. We need a. Oh, is there no racing parts in this? Let me see. Oh, that's right. See, I got my games mixed up because I thought that they had racing brakes in here. That's actually the other game that has it. So, okay, so that means we got to use the traditional braking system and get the regular brake discs. So that's fine. Let's do that really quick. Excuse me. We need these. And we might need a brake servo, so let's go ahead and grab 2 of those just in case. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, what does it mean by a brake disc ventilated? Well, basically the difference here is that these brakes are ventilated, which means that they actually stay cool while they're under pressure. But you got to be careful though, and you don't want to use a car that has little to no braking. As you can see, we're going to need some more brake pads because we're going to need to keep some on hand for future cars. Now, the unfortunate thing, though, and I wish they had this in the game, when you put the braking system back together, you actually have to bleed the brakes to get air out of the system. That's because while the brakes are being put together and the brake lines are hooked up and everything, they're actually taking in air. So, only thing you have to do is that when you get inside your car, make sure you hit the brakes and keep on hitting them and bleed the air out until finally the brake pedal becomes very stiff, and then you'll be fine. Anyway, this front end here is ready to go. But now let's go over to the other side because now we need to do the same thing that we did over there over here. Okay, so now we have the front end taken care of, but something else I noticed too is that let's lower this van really quick because I noticed this while I was putting this in. It seems our radiator here is pretty much biting the dust, so I'm gonna have to see if I can fix that. And what did I say earlier? We do have a brake servo here. This is actually used in older cars. The brake servo is actually the machine that sends the signal to the brakes to come on, especially with the brake fluid in there. Now, I'm not sure if we can repair it, but I do have a new one, as you guys saw. Anyway, this radiator we'll have to see if we can actually do anything with. I also didn't catch that we have the air box here. Let's pop this open and see what the condition of the air filter is. And you can also see too that we are going to need to get some coolant and stuff for this. Ew. Okay. Alright, so looks like we have a little bit more to do on this car, but for right now, let's go ahead and move back over here to the rear suspension and get that going. Alright, so now the next thing we'll need is that we need a fuel tank, which unfortunately I haven't gotten around to fixing that. But now we're going to get the leaf spring rear drive axle placed back in, and then we're going to use these things called leaf springs. Now, if you've never seen these before, many cars actually still have these. These leaf springs are actually very good on the suspension, because what they do is that they're actually a bent piece of metal connected with other bent pieces of metal, and what they do is that they fluctuate. They allow for the suspension to stay in place, and also have a little bit of give as well when you go over bumps and other things. So now let's get the small rubber bushings in there, because believe me, these are the bane of my existence. Now we're going to need some new rear shock absorbers, but we'll get to those in just a second. Now we just put the rear knuckle on, the wheel hub on, and now we need this. This is a drum wheel cylinder. Remember what I said about the brake shoes for drum brakes? Well, here's the amazing thing about the brake shoes for this. As you can see, they look really nice, but these are actually the originals. See, brake shoes like these that are in drum brakes, they actually don't wear out as fast as, say, the front disc brakes. These were actually used quite often in older cars. In fact, when we actually go to some of the other cars, like such as that Woody or the Impala behind us, you'll actually see that some of them actually do take the rear drum brakes. Now, something like, you know, that NASCAR Cup Series car back there, it wouldn't need those. It would actually need the front disc brakes. Anyway, let me go ahead and continue working on the rear end here and get the rest of the pieces back in. Alright, so we have the suspension work done. Now I need to do some fixing up of a few pieces, because now that we have the fuel tank and we have a few other little pieces and parts we found here, I'm going to see if I can fix that radiator really quickly. So be right back, everybody. Let me go see what I can do. Hey, good news, everybody. I was able to fix the radiator. So now we can put that back in, and we can also put the radiator housing fan back together as well, which is actually good news. I'm glad we could actually fix that. Now let's get the brake servo in there. I was able to repair that as well. And now we can go ahead and put the air filter in, which I'm going to put in this new racing type one, and put this back on as well. And we put the clips on. Make sure you put these clips back in. Otherwise, if you play this game, it's not going to let you do anything more. So let's get that back in, and let's get that back in. Alright, now, the next thing we need to do is that we need to raise this again, but we need to take our beautiful new engine, our rebuilt engine, and what we need to do is that we need to put it in the car. So we're going to take it off of there, and let's see, where is my engine hoist? Ah, here it is. We're going to move this back over to the second car. There we go. We're now going to put the engine and install it right in here. There we go. So now it's inside. Let's go ahead and move this out of the way. Thank you. Now we'll go back inside really quick. And there's our beautiful engine now sitting beautifully right there. Alright, so now, before we can fire that up, we need to reconnect a few things. I.e., we need to put the exhaust in and make sure the drivetrain is hitched up too. So let's go underneath here. So right now we are looking at the very back of the engine, and what needs to go over here is that it needs a gearbox. So this is the gearbox that all the gears are in, because this is an automatic, I believe. This is an automatic. I don't think they made a manual, but I'll take a look at that. Also, we need some front exhaust, which thankfully I was able to procure some. And now we have a drive shaft. Now let's talk a little bit about the drive shaft really quick. The drive shaft is a very important piece of the car, because if this is a rear-wheel drive car, which it is, That means that whatever power the engine is making, it turns the gears, it turns the clutch, which then transfers transfers the power back to the rear wheels. In a front-wheel drive car, you wouldn't have this. And in a four-wheel drive car, you would still have a drive shaft. But they'd be turning in unison, which is pretty cool. And thankfully, though, the drive shaft was one of the easiest things to actually put back together. So this is the original one that's back in there. There we go. Now we're going to put in a middle muffler. And luckily I have one right here. Now some older cars have something called a catalytic converter, which is similar to a middle muffler. However, this particular car doesn't have the catalytic converter. Probably the other cars that we will work on will have that, but not this one. And then we'll put that in there. And now we essentially have everything hooked up except for the fuel tank. That one, unfortunately, I was not able to fix, so we're going to have to grab a new fuel tank. And there it is. And now we can put it in here. And I also have a fuel pump which helps send the fuel to the engine and giving it more power. All right, we're almost done with this vehicle, but now what we need to do is that now we need to kind of put some new tires on this thing. And as you guys may know, these are the originals that came off of the car. But they are in poor condition, and the tires, I think, are also in poor condition too. So these are going to be going away, but we need the dimensions of it, which you can see right there in the parentheses. So you see we need a 195, 75, 15 type wheel. So let's go ahead and go into the wheel garage and see what we can find in terms of tires. And this one, you know what? This really doesn't need any sports type tires, but I think we can go ahead and put these on. So we need 4 of them. And so the size, we said it was 15. The width is how wide the tire is, and the profile is how much there actually is of that tire. And so we have 195, 75, 15. So we're going to grab those. And now we're going to take these tires over to this little handy-dandy device. This is a tire changer, and this is a wheel balancer. We're going to be using these quite a lot, especially when we start getting into more tires and stuff. But all we do is that first we need to install the rims. And I happen to find some good rims that I'm going to put on this vehicle. Where the hell are they? Oh, here they are. So these rims, I think, are going to look really good on that particular vehicle. And there is our other tires. So now watch this. See that? It slides beautifully over the rim, which is great. Now, you may think to yourself, well, now we can put it on the vehicle, right? The next thing it needs is that it needs to be balanced. See, if you were to put this wheel on, what would happen is that it would cause a very bad ride, because it needs to have the proper balancing on it. In fact, if you ever looked at your rims and saw like these little rectangle weights on there, they are very important. Now, in my other garage, it's kind of a game to like put the wheel balancers on, but in this game, it's all automatic. And of course, somebody on Discord is trying to order a new car or something. But right now, I'm busy. Can't you see I'm very busy? So let's fix that really quick. All right, thank you. And now let's go ahead and put it on, and let's watch carefully. And now the wheel is perfectly balanced. So now, let's go ahead and do the rest to the other wheels. Alright, all the wheels have been balanced, and now we can go ahead and put them back on our beautiful van. Alright, let's have a look-see and see how the rims look. Ooh, those look really good. Those look really nice indeed. Alright, let's get the rest of them put back on. Alright, so now we have our wheels on our van, but now we need to do something really quick. Oh yeah, we need to come over here and see if the battery actually charged, and I'm pretty sure it did. So we're going to go back in here to the engine bay, and I'm going to hit this, and now we're going to go to the battery. Look at that. Alright, it still works. Okay, now, before we actually take this out for a spin, the next thing we need to do is that we need to do a little something here, because let me see. Okay, so we can't actually put brake fluid in here, but now we need to put something very important in the motor, and that is motor oil. Now, this is vital importance here to the engine, because the oil is actually what keeps the engine lubricated and keeps it moving, and also keeps it from blowing up. Because here's the thing, if you run an engine out of oil, you only got like 5 miles before the thing just blows up, and then you're going to be in some serious doo-doo. Always check your owner's manual to see what type of motor oil a car takes. Now, where is the dipstick? Here it is. Okay, so this little guy right here, this is called the oil dipstick. Now, if I was to take this out, this shows me the oil level, and as you can see, we are great on oil. Now, you may notice too that it says max, and covered right there, it says min. You want to make sure that you're as close to the max as possible, but if it's showing like, you know, right there, that's fine, because now the thing has some motor oil in it. All right. Now, before we actually before we actually get done with this, let's go ahead and put this firmly on the ground, or we'll just take it back up in the air. Let's go ahead and take this to the paint shop before we do anything else, because we need to get rid of that. We need to get rid of that paint scheme for sure. Alright, let's go in here, and we're going to go into the paint shop and see if we can give this car a little something better. Let's see if there's any form of paint scheme with this. Okay, so it does have that, and then there's also some other paint scheme. Okay, then let's do this. See if we can give it a little bit of hue, a little bit of brightness to it, and let's see. Okay, I see what we could do. Let's go ahead and make it be a nice... How about a little gray, or a little silverish kind of tone? There we go. Ooh, that actually looks really nice. Yeah, let's go ahead and paint the car. Beautiful. Alright. So now our van looks much better. Look at this. This is just gorgeous. Alright, now we can take a look inside of the interior, and it looks fantastic. In fact, I think we might be able to fire this up. Alright, here we go. So let's start the car and see if it fires up. The hell? Oh! You know what? I think this thing still needs a starter. Alright, back to the lift you go. I bet you that's what's up. Let me see. Yeah, right here. We need to put the starter back in because it's not. I almost forgot about it, but look at this nice silverish grayish color. I like it. Yep, forgot to put the starter in. There we go. Alright, now we can take this car and let's go ahead and take it towards the dyno. There we can fire it up and see what it sounds like. And also test its power to see if we gave it a little bit extra. Just go ahead and close these. So this right here is the test path. This is basically where, well, this is actually not the test path. This is the dyno. This is actually where we can actually register and see that we have a small rubber bushing missing from the car. I told you that the rubber bushings are a bane of my existence, and of course it's right there. Alright, give me 1 second to fix that really quick. Okay, now I put the rubber bushing back in, and let's go ahead and test this now. And let's go ahead and start the procedure. So, the original factory power was 302 horsepower with about 257 pounds of torque. Now, we did put a few racing modification parts in the engine, but let's see what it's done. Now, everybody, be careful with your headphones and speakers, because this might get a little loud. Hey, not bad. 369 horsepower with now a little bit more torque. As you can see, it's a gain of 22% over what it first came in with. I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. Now the last thing we're going to need to do is that we're going to need to put in some glass. We're going to need to put the windshield in, which luckily that should be easy to do. So we need to come over here and we need to go over to the Community Cars Body Shop. This is actually where all the different modded cars that we have, all their body parts are. So now we come here and we're just gonna get all the different pieces here, just so that we have everything. There we go. And then I think we need these. I don't know if we needed a left side mirror. If not, that's okay, because then that means I just have an extra one to play with. There we go. Okay, now we can go ahead and reassemble. As you can see, it already has a front window on it, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and assemble the rest of the vehicle here. You can't really see it because it's like super duper clear, but you can easily see that now we have the thingies going in. And of course this thing gets a little bit finicky, but there we go. And yep, I knew we were missing a left side mirror. Alright, look at this. Pretty cool, huh? You know what? I think we need to take this vehicle out for some fun, I think. So, we're gonna drive the car, and let's see. We can actually take it to a lot of different places, but why don't we go ahead and take it to, how about the racetrack and see what it's like. So we'll go ahead and take the Astro out there and have some fun. Alright, so we're inside the vehicle now, and there are some different checkpoints as well. As you can see, our vehicle is looking really nice, and I think it kind of just sheens. But now, let's go ahead and get into the vehicle, and here we go. And we're off. Ooh. Not bad getting off the line. And yes, I am using the keyboard for this, because for some reason the steering wheel does not like to play with me here. Ooh, got a little bit loose there. Wow, this thing's got some power to it. Whoa, Bessie. Take a look at it from the outside here. Ouch! Okay, didn't mean to do that, but hey, at least we didn't hurt it too bad. Oh boy. Okay, new rule: never change camera views when you're on track. Well, this thing is not really much of a race vehicle. It's kind of top heavy, but remember too, we did put a lot of torque in this thing. So let's just be a little bit more cautious with this. There we go. And across the line we come. Whoa, Bess. Oh, Jesus. And there we go. So a 149 140, which, you know, like I said, this vehicle is not meant to be at the racetrack or anything, but hey, it's still pretty cool. But anyway, that's going to do it for our rebuild of the Chevy Astro. Hope you all enjoyed it, and make sure you keep an eye out for more one-day restorations. I don't know if we'll see this van again, but who knows? Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll sell it. You'll find out in the next episode. Anyway, until then, make sure you leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.